78 Byard Street, New Brunswick. Roll call, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Hush.
Here.
Mr. Ortiz.
Here.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Here.
Mrs. Shikaitis.
Here.
Mr. Spencer.
Here.
Mrs. Varela.
Here.
Mr. Caldwell. Here. Mrs. Siegel.
Here. Thank you. Please join us in the flag salute. Reminder, the next monthly Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 19th. It will begin at 7 p.m. Next item on the agenda is open questions from
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Charles Bradville. I'm from New Brunswick. You know me, I'm the editor of the community newspaper New Brunswick Today. I have a few questions. I wanted to ask if Ms. Shikaitis has been able to look into the potential of having board meetings at other locations, as she said she would.
Ms. Shikaitis will answer.
The topic has come up and we discussed it, but we haven't made any decisions yet about whether to move the meetings or not.
Okay. I would definitely advise spreading it around a little bit to different neighborhoods. We certainly have facilities and might go some way towards encouraging participation from parents, which we know is a goal. Is it true that tonight there's special accommodations for second
Yes, ma'am.
speakers? Yes.
Ms. Sadowski would like to contribute to the discussion.
We did do board meetings in the different school buildings. Some of them, we couldn't do it in some of the schools because they're not as handicap accessible as others. It was minimally successful, but we have done it before.
Thank you. I wanted to ask about some of the resolutions, but first, the more pressing matter is the water testing. I wanted to ask for the findings of the follow-up testing that was discussed in Mr. Dolce's presentation. I'd also like to ask what happened to the so-called proactive efforts to do additional remediation at faucets that were not quite at that 15 parts per billion level. And I also want to know, I haven't got a satisfactory answer to this question yet. Why won't New Brunswick Public Schools pay for blood tests for the children who might have been poisoned? Does Highland Park's doing that? Does Highland Park Public Schools care more about the health of its children?
Excuse me?
Than,
One question.
okay, so I asked multiple questions and I'd like answers to all of them.
One
You
question.
interrupted the last one.
One question at a time, Mr. Brown.
Okay, so the first
Mr.
one.
Dolce will respond in regards to the remediation efforts, which I believe will well along the way.
Yes, Mr. Cradwell, we just received, as of today, the first sets of results tied to the retesting of the repairs that we've done or the remediation on the original 14. They just came back only for Lincoln Attics, former St. Peter's today. So we've not had a chance to show the board or supply them with that at this point. But we We did receive those today, and the results of that are that that school is all clear. We tested that, and we're ready for that school to be open. We're expecting the other results to come back. We're still in the process of doing the testing for the other fountains. And to your other component of that question about the proactive on the additional fountains that were close, that's in the works, but we haven't addressed those at this point. Anticipating doing that, throughout the summer.
Thank you. A follow-up to that would be, do you have a certain level that you're going to look at all the faucets above 10 or above 5? Is there a threshold that's been decided?
At this point, this has not been determined exactly where it is.
Okay. And then the last questions are dealing with the blood tests. Why won't New Brunswick Public Schools pay for blood tests for the children who might have been poisoned?
I think before we test anybody and stick children with a needle, I would like anybody to come forth to us that their children demonstrate symptoms of lead poisoning, and if they have seen their pediatrician, and if their pediatrician feels that they need to be tested. That's just from my point of view, that I just think that it would be better for their pediatrician to recommend the testing, and if it's in great numbers that children are complaining of the symptoms, and they're pretty generalized symptoms, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. I would think before we stick any child with a needle, these are kind of the basic symptoms for everything. When in doubt, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. So I would just like to see if a pediatrician feels that the child should be tested, then I think it's something that we need to take under advisement. But at this point, right now, I don't think we should go ahead with that. But if it changes, then it was something that this board would discuss. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer and for your medical perspective. I have some questions about the resolutions. I assume I should mention those now during this public comment. That's correct. There won't be an opportunity to ask about them. So I wanted to ask about the light speed lead filter. Is this basically the way of filtering out certain websites?
What's the number of the?
It's letter O.
O?
Yes. O.
Mr. General?
Yes, it is the web filter and other components of it, but in general terms, yes, it is part of our internet safety security protection.
Thank you. And a follow-up to that, can you tell me, is the NewBrunswickToday.com website filtered out from all staff and student access here to the public schools?
I don't know.
Okay. I believe I've heard that it is, and I think if it is, it should be.
Excuse me?
I said, if it
That's
is.
that's not on point. What's your next question?
I'm sorry, am I allowed?
What is your next
Am I allowed to
question?
express my opinions here?
No.
No.
You asked a
So
question.
members of the public are not allowed to
You're
express
not a member
opinions
of the
at this
public.
microphone.
You're here as a journalist.
I'm sorry, I'm not a member of the public. Do I live in
Do you
New
have a
Brunswick?
question? Do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, am I allowed to express opinions here? And you just said no. I think you might want to check how the law works. Can you check the board policy? Are members of the public allowed to speak at these meetings? Or is there some prohibition against journalists from having the opportunity to address the elected officials of this community?
Look, you're either public commenting on the agenda, one or the other. And if you're a journalist, your opinion should be in an editorial, not at our board meeting. So why don't you just ask questions or move on, please?
Okay. I will not allow my speech to be restricted. I'm an American citizen. And I am here to express my opinion that news sources, legitimate news sources, should not be banned or censored from the computers in your district. These are paid for with taxpayer funds. The members of your staff should have a right to read what's on New Brunswick Today, and so should the students. And I think that taking any other position would be un-American. The next thing I want to ask about is the annex, the Penn Jersey Environmental Consulting Resolution R. Can you tell me why is the district finding another environmental consulting company at this point? Do we already have one for that site?
Mr. Ladoche will respond to that.
Penn Jersey's on board and been on board as this project's been continuing. At this point, we have dirt that's been excavated tied to the foundations in the enclosure of the breezeway. At this point, now that all construction's done, the remaining dirt, we know what that quantity is, and this is primarily to remove the dirt and have that managed through Penn Jersey, who again has been on this project from the beginning. So this is the removal of the remaining dirt and the oversight per EPA guidelines to get that dirt off the site.
Thank you. Can you tell me what type of contamination is present in the dirt?
It was historic fill, low level. Again, this is similar to other dirt in the district. And again, it's being remediated off-site as it's been done for the first project.
Thank you. The last one I want to ask about is the last resolution on your agenda, the contract for Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. I just wanted to ask, is this a promotion for Ms. McCoy, or is this the same title she's had since she came here? I thought it was a different title.
It is a different title because additional duties have been assigned.
And,
So that resulted in a change in title.
thank you. Does that also result in a change in salary?
Additional duties would call for increased compensation.
So there is a salary, can you tell me the new salary?
No.
That was a no.
Mr. General also passed.
Mr. General,
I can answer that question. Being that the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, all these contracts are sent to and approved by the Executive County Superintendent, this was a raise of $5,000 above her current salary. But that, you have to keep in mind that that $5,000 would contain any raise that she would receive in that previous title once we are done negotiating our contract with the union. So it's really not a $5,000 raise, because I would tell you most of that raise she would have received anyway in the previous title.
Thank you for the thorough answers. That's my last question. I just want to end by saying that I think the board is doing something very good. If that's what I think is going on over there, that there's now an opportunity for folks to get live translation. Is that correct?
yes.
Well, that's, I think, a wonderful step in the right direction. I think this board can go a long way towards being more transparent, and I hope that you will do that as we move forward. And a very simple way to do that is to record these meetings and televise them. There's a lot of good things going on in this district, and I think the board should showcase those things. And televising this meeting is not something to be afraid of. It's something that is a step into the 21st century. Thank you very much.
Are there other comments, questions? If not, we will request a motion to move the consent agenda. Mr. General. Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Seawood. The Finance Committee met prior to the last board meeting. Our finance report was posted, and I need a motion to accept the finance report.
Mr. Hutt. Yes. Mr. Ortiz. Yes. Mrs. Salas.
Yes.
Mrs. Shubaiti. Mr. Spencer. Ms. Morel.
Yes.
Mrs. Caldwell. Mrs. Seeley. Motion approved.
Resolution for closed session. Whereas open public meeting. Whereas the 46 provides a certain may be discussed in closed session, and whereas the Board of Education intends to discuss matters as follows. 1, personnel matters. 2, matters of attorney-client privilege. Now therefore be it resolved that the aforesaid subjects shall be discussed in closed session by this Board of Education and administrative staff, and the minutes of said closed session discussion will be made available to the public when the reasons for the non-disclosure in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act